I recently went through a process where I reset all of my goals, went right back to first principles, and I chose what was important to me, prioritised each goal, and broke them down into manageable pieces. I then trialled a goal management system using my 2025 goals. Now I'm back with the results and I'm ready to set some goals for 2026. Welcome to Coffee Break Plans, and yep, today's topic is setting goals for 2026. Now, I know I keep banging on about goals, but this is something that I've been really slack on for the past few years with the post-COVID slump. So I decided I really wanted to sort this out and get on top of it. A few months ago, I did a couple of videos where I showed the entire process, where I chose what goals were important to me. I then went through and prioritized each goal, and I broke the goals down into easily achievable steps. I set up all of my goals in a system that I downloaded on Etsy from Analida Designs, and I put them into this happy planner system. This system uses every single time frame to set tasks. So you start with your yearly tasks, you have 90-day goals, monthly goals, weekly goals, and then your daily goals. And I used all of it. I wanted to see what stuck and what dropped away. The first layer to go was the daily layer. These are the same tasks that I do every day. And while I can expand them all out to fill out an entire page, and I did in this particular instance, I did one for weekdays and one for weekends, as they look very different. But I found out very quickly as I was using the system that I didn't need to do this every single day. I continued to use both the weeklies and the monthlies, but I very quickly noticed a pattern emerging. With my ongoing goals, like health, writing, and my channel, that worked really well at this weekly level. I can write these goals out each week, adjust any details as required, and we're away. And there's a wee tracker at the bottom where I can write down any particular habits that I want to track relevant to these goals and then tick them off as I go. But for the one-off projects that have maybe 3 tasks for the whole 90-day period, and once they're done, the weeklies became useless really, really quickly. So instead of using the weeklies for those tasks, I moved into using the monthlies. So I set out for each of these goals, I set out what needs to be done down to as fine a detail as I need. And then as I complete each one, I tick them off, and anything left uncompleted gets migrated to the next month. So in my current Happy Planner system, I have a specific goals section partway through the planner where I have all my weekly and my monthly goals set out, as well as my 90-day goals. But I don't like having to constantly flip to my goals section on a day-to-day basis. I'd rather have everything written down in my current week. So what I've started doing is migrating my monthly tasks into this box here, so what's important this month, and migrating my 90-day tasks into this box here. I can then look at these tasks, allocate whatever tasks need doing to a particular day of the week. Anything that I don't get done, I carry over to the following week, and then any tasks in these boxes that have been done, I can check off and then migrate what's left undone to the following week as well. By the end of this month, I should have nothing left in this box. By the end of every 90 days, I should have nothing left in that box, ready to be populated for the next time period. And of course, if I do have something left to do, I simply move it over to the next 90-day sheet. What I like about this system is that I can turn to this current week and I can see everything that I need to do very quickly at a single glance, rather than having to flip backwards and forwards in my planner. So 2025 goals are pretty much in hand. What am I doing next year? I recently put together my 2026 Happy Planner, and I have a video for that which I will put up in the cards. It's in the same order that I have it this year, as that's currently working for me. And I have a goals section here. I have my yearly goals page ready to go and some 90-day goals pages. To quickly revisit, when I originally set out my goals, I did an Eisenhower matrix to prioritize which ones were the most important and therefore needed to be given the most time. So you have 2 axes here. On the y-axis is the importance axis, so the higher you go, the more important it is. The x-axis is the urgency. The further left you go, the more urgent it is. So up here in quadrant 1, everything is urgent and important. Anything in quadrant 2 is not urgent, but it's still important. Anything in quadrant 3 is urgent but not important, and anything in quadrant 4 is not urgent and not important. And the words loosely associated with these are do defer, which I prefer to think of as plan, delegate, which is always to myself, and this one here is delete, and I always prefer to put in for now. On a day-to-day basis at work, this works really well. If you have something that is urgent but it's not important, you give it to someone else to do. If it's something that's not urgent or not important, you delete it. That doesn't necessarily work in a personal goals context because everything on here is important to me. I'm just prioritizing it. If I didn't have it as a goal, it wouldn't make it to this matrix at all. So my goals for last year that I identified as being in Q1 was my health and selling my caravan. In Q2, which is not urgent but still important, is my show. I'm directing a show next year. I'm doing a big tramp next year, or a hike as other people call it. This channel, and doing my creative writing. Now the things that I identified as urgent but not important are repairs. Obviously if something big breaks down like my car, that is urgent and important, but small repairs like replacing some of the blown light bulbs in my house, they can wait. I've got plenty of light bulbs. The house is still lit each night. It's all okay. So not urgent and not important. I've put down us either moving or building or buying another house and possibly getting married. But as I have jokingly said, we're in our 50s. There's no real hurry. So this is what all my prioritization came out for 2025. And for 2026, this is all going to stay pretty much the same, except these two things, which are both due in 2026. This is due in May, and I need to probably have everything ready to hand over by about June. These I am migrating over to here. And although it's not sold yet, my caravan is now at the point where it's been serviced, it has its warrant of fitness, it just needs to be sold. So I'm going to cross that out because I'm assuming in 2026 I will have had that done already. So here are my 2026 prioritizations. I have health, show, tramp up here in Q1, and the things that I'm just going to keep ticking over are the channel and my writing, and everything else falls where it was. So back over here in my 2026 ecosystem, I'm now going to set up my 2026 annual goals in this page. I've already done all the pre-work on these goals already here in this workbook that I set aside, but because I've already done all this and I know when each thing has to happen, I can now fill out my annual plan with all of these tasks. So nothing in January, which is good because I want to have a holiday. February, I need to, for my tramp, I need to buy any gear. The same thing will happen in March. In April, because the tramp itself is in May, so in April is when I will do my food list and prep. I'll pack everything up and I'll check on any last bookings that I might need, although everything's now booked. In May, it's actually the tramp itself. And for my show, which isn't so important in this half of the year, but coming into this segment is quite important, I will need my audition material, show summary, and character descriptions. In April, for my show, I will need to have my set design pretty much finished and ready to hand over to the builders. July, I expect we'll start to do the auditions. In August, I'm sure there'll be something for the show, but I haven't figured out particularly which. And in September, we will start rehearsals. And then it will open November, December. Now, these are the only two goals that I need to write down in here. I don't need to write about my health or my writing or any of those other things because they are ongoing. I do something towards them every single day. These are the things that have specific things due on specific days and by specific time, which is why I note them at an annual level. So the year, of course, breaks down into 4 quarters of 90 days. So I can do a 90-day plan for January to March. So goal 1 is my tramp. Goal 2 is the show. So I need to buy gear needed, final bookings, and I've also need to look at travel insurance as I've spent quite a bit of money on bookings. For the show, I have set design and set dressing. And that's pretty much it for the 90-day goals for January, March for those 2 items. So turning to the next page, which is the 90-day goals, April, June. And I have the same 2 goals, tramp and show. I need to get my food list. I then need to buy my food. I need to prep all my food. And then I need to pack. And then, of course, in May, I need to actually get on the plane and go and do the tramp. For my show, it's a little bit more detailed. Set design, I need to get my set design to the build crew. Rehearsal schedule, I need to get that all finalized. I need all my lists for the heads of department. Audition material, show summary, and character descriptions. Now, I'm not going to continue to do the rest of the quarters for 2026. That's just getting way too far out in the future, and so many things may change. Also, what I suspect will happen is that once the show reaches a particular point, once we have had auditions and we have a cast and we're into rehearsals, I probably won't bother continuing to note my show goals on these goals anymore. It just becomes a project all on its own, and it will have so many tasks that I won't be able to fit them all on this page. If I get all of these things done by June next year, I am in a really good position for when auditions start, when rehearsals start, and I don't need to play catch up. If you are behind on any of these things, when you go into auditions, you are struggling. Putting on a show is incredibly difficult, no matter how organized you are. So I prefer to make things as easy as I can. So if you watched my 2 goal setting videos that I did a few months ago, back when I started on this kind of more detailed goal setting journey, it was all about putting together a compelling sentence that set out your goals and then breaking them all down into tasks, etc., etc. And I did do that, and I'm glad I did that. But what I found down here a few months later at this end of the journey is that identifying your goals is one thing, but how you track and plan for them depends very much on what goal it is. It is a case of horses for courses. When it comes to my health, building in daily habits of the things that I need to do that are good for my health, and then running a series of trackers that keeps track of all the things that I need to keep track of to see that my health is going okay. When it comes to planning out a show or a tramp, which are projects and everything you do on there is one and done, once you've done it, you don't have to do it again. That requires a whole different system, and I've chosen to use this 90-day goal setting system for that. But of course, when it comes to running my channel and doing my creative writing, these things aren't going to work. I need to plan that down to a finer level of detail than what this system provides for. So I use a weekly planner to plan out all my tasks for those projects. So the standout lesson for me is look and see what everybody else is doing about setting and following their goals, but make sure that you adapt your system to fit what your goals are and what they need. That's all I have for today. I hope you have a great week. I hope you're getting on about setting your 2026 goals, and I will see you next time.